Good evening and welcome to Fate City Hall. It is now 6 o'clock, so we'll begin our regularly scheduled City Council meeting. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum present?
Yes, sir, we sure do.
All right, thank you. What's our next item on the agenda, please?
Next is going to be the invocation given by Shannon Collins with Redeemer Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flags.
All right, perfect. Welcome.
Good evening. Would you join me in prayer? Father, we come to you this evening thanking you for the opportunity you've given to us to enjoy another day, for the chance that we have to live in this community, to love the people who are around us and serve the residents of this city. Father, for the city staff and the city council this evening, I want to lift them to you. Know that in the challenges of growth and the complexity of an ever-expanding municipality, there must be countless decisions that need to be made with regards to how to proceed and move forward. And so, Father, I lift them to you and pray that you would give them wisdom. Your word tells us that wisdom is better than gold. It's better than costly gold. It tells us that the beginning of wisdom is reverence before you, that wisdom is found in the humble and those who seek advice from others. And so, Father, I pray that each of our city staff and city council members, I pray that they would walk before you in humility. I pray that they would be open to ideas. I pray that they would seek advice. And I pray that they would value your wisdom more than fine gold. And so, Father, we thank you for those that you've placed in authority. We recognize that all authority comes from you. And pray that you would empower them and enlighten them, illumine them with wisdom as they lead. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, Ms. Vicki, next agenda item, please.
Agenda item 3A, presentation of proclamation to Cody Chin in honor of service to the city of Fate. And she is not available to attend at this time, so she had asked if we could reschedule that for June 1st.
Of course.
Okay. So then we would move to agenda item 3B, Older Americans Month proclamation.
Okay, whereas May is recognized nationally as Older Americans Month, a time to honor the countless contributions of older adults, raise awareness of aging-related issues, and reaffirm our dedication to supporting older members of our communities. And whereas the growing population of older adults in Rockwall County enriches our community through their strength, wisdom, and diverse life experiences, and Rockwall County is committed to celebrating their contributions, promoting their engagement, and recognizing the unique opportunities for purpose, growth, and connection that come with aging. And whereas organizations such as Meals on Wheels Senior Services of Rockwall County play a vital role in ensuring that older adults in our community are seen, heard, and supported, providing essential services and resources that promote independence, dignity, and active engagement in our community life. And whereas the 2026 national theme for Older Americans Month, Champion Your Health, emphasizes the importance of prevention, wellness, and personal responsibility as key components of healthy aging, and encourages individuals to take an active role in managing their health, accessing preventative care, making informed decisions, and advocating for their own well-being. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Older Americans Month in the City of Fate, and encourage all residents to join in recognizing the contributions of our older citizens and to support programs, services, and activities that promote connection, inclusion, and well-being for older adults throughout our community. Thank you.
I don't see Margie in the audience. Oh, there she is.
Okay, yeah.
You're okay, great.
Well,
we do
come on
have
up.
a representative to receive that.
Will you take a picture? Yes, if I can get y'all to just stand right back there. Hello, how are you? 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you.
Ms. Vicky, what's our next agenda item, please?
Next is Agenda Item 3C, Public Works Week Proclamation.
Okay, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the citizens of Fate. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas the health, safety, and well-being of the City of Fate citizens greatly depend on these programs and services provided by the City of Fate Public Works Department, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitudes, and whereas the American Public Works Association has celebrated the annual National Public Works Week since 1960, now, therefore, I, Andrew Greenberg, Mayor of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th, 2026 through May 23rd, 2026 as Public Works Week in the City of Fate, and encourage all citizens to pay tribute to our public works employees and to recognize the contributions they make every day to our health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you.
Actually, let me have y'all stand in front of the podium this time, just since it's a larger group. Here, and then, yeah, we can make 2 rows.
Yeah, you guys are the key players, so you go in front.
Yeah, it's okay to block the podium, that's totally fine.
And you can block me.
You guys want to hold the proclamation?
All right, guys, right here, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Got it, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Vicky, next agenda item, please.
Agenda Item 3D, Fate Citizens Academy Graduation.
Good evening. Okay, so this is just a quick kind of ceremonial moment for the graduates of our first Citizens Academy cohort, and you can see them here. They're all in their red t-shirts. But I just wanted to talk about this program that we launched this year very briefly before we introduced and celebrated each of our attendees. As most of you know, last year we came to you with some opportunities for greater community engagement. And one of those opportunities was to create and implement a Citizens Academy, which gave our residents an opportunity to become more engaged in civic duties. This 5-week course walked our residents through introductions to government, so the role of the city council, the city manager, and city secretary. We did hands-on experiences with our police and fire department, including some training, kind of overall operations, as well as station tours. We learned about finance, budgeting, courts, and our customer service department. We did a city tour with our infrastructure and public works and community development team to talk about all of our projects going on, current and in the future. And then we met at the hub to talk about economic development and planning and development and the importance that that brings to our community and just how the city overall really works. So what we created through this Citizens Academy was really a group of ambassadors to go out and celebrate the city and what our staff and our teams are doing every day, and to just champion the great work that everybody here is doing. It is not a requirement, but it also created an opportunity for any of these folks to choose to serve boards, commissions, councils in the future, and just come in with a little bit of an edge potentially of their opponent, just because they already have that experience and understanding of just basic government functions. So with that, I would like to introduce you all to our graduates, and I'm going to call them up. They're going to get their certificates. They're going to wait up here, and then we're going to take a group photo, if that's okay. Okay. Chris Wilsey. You can clap now or later, whichever. Congratulations. Natasha Thomas. Congratulations. Eric Wilson. He may not have been able to join us this evening. Himanalini Mona Kumar. Congratulations. Angela Foreman. Brandon Clayton. Congratulations. Callie Beard. Congrats. Ilse Sokol. Indra Himalatha Kandasamy. Congratulations. Christina Rodriguez. Lindsay Knoll. Amy Garcia. And Amanda Domley. Congratulations. Okay, so if we can have council come down and join, we're actually going to step in front of the podium just so we can all get in since it's a larger group. So I'll have you stand here. And we can make a couple rows. I'll let you lead us, Omar.
Okay, Ms. Vicky, next agenda item, please.
Next is item 3E, Economic Development Quarterly Update.
Let's see, are we all teed up here? No, yeah, Isaiah may have to help. Okay, and Isaiah, just to advance, it's the, do I just click? All right, well, good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm so glad to be here with you all tonight. This is officially my first economic development update for everyone, and we are kind of in the middle, so we're doing kind of a little bit different this time, but a Q2 plus the first half of Q3 economic development update. And so if y'all have been driving around, you can see that there's a lot to talk about. So we'll get into that, share a little bit just what I've been up to and what our team has been up to in the first 3 months, not quite 3 months that I've been here. So, okay, let's see if this will cooperate. How does this advance? Okay. It's not wanting to do it. Okay, there. So we're going to start out just like a little overview. Because there's a pretty full schedule tonight, I may kind of breeze through a few things, but this presentation will be posted online and available afterwards for anyone that wants to kind of take a closer look. So just to kind of give an idea of what's going on, quarter at a glance, we've had very strong development activity across the city, which, like I said, if you drive around, you can see that the development momentum is just skyrocketing, that there's construction everywhere. Something really exciting, the hub is actually now at full occupancy just since this, but we are going to have one opening come July. So the private offices are fully leased out. We have some spaces available for dedicated desks as well as day passes so that anyone who's interested can come in and visit and spend time there. So that's really exciting. We have a lot of downtown events that have really been driving visitation and sales activity. We noticed just from last year that on that day on Easter, we had a 400% increase in people down there, and a lot of the businesses reported that that was their strongest day yet of the year. So that's really, people are really kind of starting to come downtown and really see what we're up to there, so that momentum is growing. We're really working on regional awareness and tourism activity. And I'll share just some of the places that I've been, what I've been working on, what our team has been working on to really grow that kind of momentum that we're trying to create for our downtown. And then we're really working on strategic growth and placemaking. And so really, I've mentioned this before, but what I see for economic development is really aligning that market momentum with the vision of the community. And so really putting those pieces together to create that strong growth, that strong economic base that keeps the society functioning, that keeps our city, financially sound, and really build jobs and economic opportunity for everyone here, and keep that vision that the community has in our minds at all time as we do that. And I just had a fun picture. I'll show another one, but this, we just had a grand opening for a new business downtown, which I'll show again, but this was just one of the pieces, Gabriel Ranch, a new business downtown. We had our ribbon cutting last Friday. So just another new addition, like I said, that shows the momentum that we have going. And let's see, I keep accidentally clicking things. Okay, and just like I said, the community momentum continues. And so Ryan Wells is here, our planning director, who's overseeing this, but we are going to be updating our comprehensive plan very soon. And so everyone's been talking about that. And we do actually address some of our economic development goals in this plan. So I'll be helping participate in that. But I will say that just going through that plan, we're meeting our strategic goals that have been outlined in this plan. And so that's really exciting to see. We'll get more into the details on that with that planning process. But just to show that we do have a plan, we're thinking about economic development in a strategic way that's multi-departmental with council's guidance and the public. And so that's something that we'll go in and update pretty soon. And then let's see. So kind of just like a few general things, which I won't dive too much into this in the interest of time, but just kind of for folks to see what's going on in the economy at large, because that does impact what we do locally as well. And so, yes, there's been some uncertainty, right? There's been some, conflict overseas. We're all aware of these types of things. However, the United States is still the right place to be. We have strong markets across the board. I've attended multiple meetings with lots of forecasters from a variety of really, really great institutions, Urban Land Institute, the Federal Reserve in Dallas. Everyone's projecting growth that continues. The United States is still the place to be. GDP continued to grow, even though where there was a little bit of mild decline in the housing market, which most of us here are aware of. Something to keep in mind, but like I said, it hasn't impacted our growth overall. And something else that I thought was interesting and really aligns with the way that I pursue economic development, the way our team does here at the city, is the power of placemaking. And this is something I've heard echoed again and again, but economic development is not just about those big deals. Those are still important. We still need those to drive momentum, but it's also about creating a vibrant place where people and businesses thrive. And you can see here that I've even outlined, have a little picture of our Fresh, right? They have a stage there. So this just kind of goes to show that developers even are thinking more about the experience that people are having in places. And we're thinking more holistically about creating a vibrant community, high quality of life, because that's what attracts jobs, That's what keeps people here. So that's kind of the way we are approaching economic development as well. And just kind of thinking about the context of Texas, America's best state for business, we actually have the 8th largest economy in the world. So Texas is really leading the charge in the entire country right now for economic development. It's an exciting time to be here. We also have, I would say, the most small businesses of pretty much anywhere, including a really high quality of life, right? So we have a very pro-business environment. Low taxes, we all know, a lot of different amenities that people come here for because we really have the environment that supports that. And everyone really has a mindset for it. And we do here as well. Something else, if you haven't heard, but this is big news, is that Texas is actually getting our own stock exchange. And so it's being known as Y'all Street to compete with New York's Wall Street. And they're actually looking to open this July. That article just came out last week, so big news. They're looking at Uptown Dallas for that. And there's just been so much commercial growth really in all areas. And, you know, we're in an interesting place here in Fate, right? Because we have a lot of the growth that's kind of coming from that, right? We're standing to benefit economically. We're at a really strong place because of all this momentum happening in our region. So something kind of fun and interesting to look forward to is that we really become a leader in the nation economically. And just like I said, so in my less than 3 months that I've been here, really been working to grow strategic partnerships, increase the awareness of Fate, and kind of really get all these different type of market updates. So staying really in tune with what's happening around the entire country, locally here in Texas and the region. So just to give y'all a couple highlights, I attended the Governor's Small Business Summit in Allen, Texas. Made a lot of great connections with folks from the state there. We really have so many resources available to us. So one of the goals that I have is really to make sure that we're connecting and utilizing all the resources that are available to us and our businesses here. And so we're working on the business retention and expansion type of programs that we can offer to folks. We have went to the EarthX Summit, so that was really interesting, focused a lot on the bioeconomy. We heard the Texas Agricultural Commissioners speak, got a lot of interesting ideas about innovative technologies that can be basically applied to lots of areas you wouldn't think, things like waste management, things like farming technology, ranching, and how to make those more profitable, how to incorporate them potentially into suburban type of places like this. So we're really trying to think outside the box, as well as kind of focus on strategic areas for investment that might be suitable and might have a strong benefit. I mentioned I go to the Federal Reserve for multiple different types of meetings and stay up to date there. So I went to an arts and culture event that's looking at the impact of arts and culture on the economy and also how we can get more funding for those kinds of things. Urban Land Institute, which is the global leader in real estate professionals, really for all kinds of things, networking, market information, meeting developers, all kinds of potential leads for things that we want to see here in Fate. And so a couple things that just wanted to share for fun and show what we're doing. And I would love to announce, if you have not seen it, so I would say, you know, thank you to Matt Wavering because he did start this initiative, but just right before I got here, he had been working on this project, but we have a new website for economic development that's really focused on site selection and those that are looking to bring a business here to Fate. And so it has kind of more of a strong visual focus, a little bit less information heavy, but we really want to give the types of information that external developers and businesses want to see and need to see when they're making decisions about where to locate. And it will be updated some, but it looks awesome, so check it out if you have not yet. And going into the development updates. And before I do that, I really wanted to say thank you we have folks here. We have our planning director, Brian Wells. We have Steve, our building official, and just really to say that these developments cannot happen without this whole team. So we have city engineers. We have a team that meets weekly on all these development projects. it really is a team effort, and there's so much more that goes into it than you would imagine. And so making sure that the quality is what it's supposed to be, that everyone's, going kind of along the right track. And then on our side, we're really a resource for the businesses too, to make sure that everything's running smoothly. So just to kind of share some of these we have going on, which so many things are happening. Like I said, if you drive around construction sites, especially off of I-30, we have over 30 new commercial developments and businesses outlined in all various phases of development. Over 950,000 square feet of new commercial development underway. Lafayette Crossing has begun its long-awaited construction. The Kroger is going in, so if you drive by, see a lot of dirt moving, they are making headway there very quickly. And then we have another very large project that is anticipated right across from the Fate Village development, which kind of still, the details are still kind of top secret, but we are expecting a PD submission in the next couple weeks on that. So that's going to be a really exciting development for the city. And also, we have this wonderful resource that the planning and development folks put together for us so that you all can actually go and see this at any time. This is available to the public on the city website. We have an active projects map that they put together that shows all the different developments that have been submitted, and it gives details about their various phases. And so you can click on any icon there. It'll bring up those details so you can kind of check all this information out on your own. It's a great resource we have to keep the community informed of everything going on around them. And so looking at, starting with the Highway 66 corridor, and that, just to give you an idea, there's a map here. So we're kind of spanning downtown. This, obviously, Highway 66 goes further than this, but this is kind of the main area that shows the development. And just to kind of give y'all an idea of what is going on. So the long-awaited 7-Eleven is finally open. We have the Leather and Bound bookstore, a book cafe, a very interesting, unique concept. They just recently opened. The Shops at Wood Creek is under construction. Arca Montessori coming soon as well, Q2 2026. And I will show y'all pictures because, like I said, in the interest of time, I won't go through every detail, but just to have this up so you can see how many projects are coming in this area. And to see what this looks like, which is a little more built out, but this is the area right here at 66 and Ben Payne. We have our new 7-Eleven that has been long awaited. And we have Arca Montessori. This is what it looks like currently, so they're getting close to completion. And then we have the Shops at Wood Creek next door to that spot. And so they are underway as well. The building is going up there. If you've driven by, that's what's there. And then looking at Avondale Retail, so 66 in Wood Creek, just down a little ways. You have quite a few different uses that are going in there, a daycare, a dentist, nail salon. There is a proposed restaurant potentially, so something exciting to look forward to. And here's kind of what the construction looks like now. So the daycare and that retail center are almost complete. They're getting very close. Here's what that looks like up close and personal. So very exciting. Like I mentioned, the Leather and Bound bookstore. They have some interesting things in there. And then going on to the I-30 corridor. And so this photo is actually from the recent groundbreaking for the Kroger. So this is not a stock photo, even though it looks like it could be. So very, very fast-paced development there. And so the I-30 corridor obviously spans along I-30. We're going to kind of focus on another sub-area of that, but this is kind of the general line of I-30 that we're looking at. And Brakes Plus is finally open, so that's a new addition there. We have the 5-star storage, which it's just about done. I have a photo of that. It looks really nice. Fate Village Phase 2 is underway. They're looking at completion in Q4 2026. Obviously, like I said, Lafayette Crossing is under construction, underway. Shops at Fate also now under construction. So I'll show you all a few other things, but kind of coming soon in the future. Like I said, I won't go into all of these, but Ace Hardware is coming, so that's a new development, very exciting. Chicken Express is still on the docket. We have a Huey's Coffee, Don Cuco Meat Market is relocating from their prior location, and a Firestone Tire that's going to be all within this area. So lots of things happening there. And I'm not going to go through all of these either, but these are all the things that have opened just since the last time. So many new businesses. Like I said, the momentum is very high. Just to give y'all an idea of how many new things we have coming to Fate. And some pictures. This is just actually maybe a week or two ago, the 5-star industrial store on Industrial Drive. So they're pretty close to opening. And this is really close by, so across from the Kroger site on Crawford. You've seen the construction there. This is kind of what their rendering is of what that's going to look like, but they have some different tenants coming in there. And then on the other side of the highway again, so between Fate Village Drive and Greenbrier, we have all these places that have opened recently. Like I mentioned, the Breaks Plus is finally open. And then this is what the current Fate Village Phase 2 looks like. And so it'll look pretty much like the Fate Village Phase 1, be kind of a mirror of that development. And so they're working on their leasing right now. Here's another shot of that. And here is what the Kroger will look like. Very exciting. And we will say there is still a Fortune 100 department store that we are hoping to announce soon. But stay tuned, that will be coming soon. So very exciting things happening at Lafayette Crossing. And just to give you all an idea of the scale of this development, for folks that haven't seen it, it goes all the way to Ben Payne, all the way to Crawford. And it's a huge master plan development. It's been in the works for a very long time with many, many people working on it. And so this just gives kind of an idea of the scale and the impact that this will have when it's done. It's not 100% ironed out in terms of what's going to be there, but that's kind of the existing plan. And here we all are. So most of us, a lot of people, a lot of faces in here. So this is our wonderful council and everyone supporting the Kroger groundbreaking. So it was really exciting because this is going to be really add to just the momentum of that area and the density of the retail centers. We're really becoming a regional center. So we are finally having this underway. More pictures from the groundbreaking. They're really supportive. The Kroger folks really brought a lot of people out. They're really interested in supporting our community and working with us going forward. So that was exciting to hear and see. We have the Huey's Coffee, which will be coming to the north of that Kroger spot. And then looking at the Memorial Parkway corridor. So that's the subsector of the I-30 corridor, kind of on the other side of Memorial here. So you can see kind of where we're looking at with this. And so we have the Lightbridge Academy that just opened recently since the last update. We have the Ashton Gray Retail Center, so that's kind of right there next to it on Memorial, which that building is done. They're just doing the tenant finish outs right now. We have the Enclave, which is a luxury rental townhome development. They just broke ground on that, so that'll be coming in 2027. We have an O'Reilly Auto Parts coming in. That's under building review. Fate Crossing Retail, some professional offices are coming to this area, so that's exciting to get some diversity in the kind of economic activity there. And then, as I mentioned, the Project Golden Gate, which is that entire 49-acre piece of property right there at the southeast quadrant of I-30 and Memorial Parkway. And, you know, council's heard a little bit about this, a little bit more about this than the public, so you have some idea of what's going on there, but we are looking at a PD submittal within the next couple weeks, and we'll be really excited to share with everyone in the public once we have that. So stay tuned. And just to give you all some pictures of what everything is looking like out there. So this is the new retail center. There is going to be a Jimmy John's there. I know that's a favorite of a lot of folks. We'll have a dental office. Some other tenants will be announced soon. And then We have right there at the southwest quadrant, this is on Memorial, right next to the Taco Bell. So there's a smaller retail center there. We do have one tenant. We're going to have another local coffee shop coming out of Rockwall, so that'll be exciting. We're getting a lot of coffee shop momentum, I noticed, so that means we're having a lot of meetings and a lot of get-togethers with folks at coffee shops, which I think is a good thing. And then to give you an idea of what that's looking like here and kind of where we are, so you can see the Fresh and the Taco Bell there, and Lightbridge Academy, and then our ribbon cutting, which we had not too long ago. And then this is the enclave at Fate Village, so this is going in behind the kind of Fresh area. Just for anyone that's wondering what's going on there, it will be a luxury rental townhome community, 2 and 3 bedrooms. They'll have all 2-car garages and fenced backyards, and some kind of higher end amenities. So just if anyone's curious what kind of construction that is, it'll be adding some different type of, living places for folks here. And then downtown, save the most fun one for last, in my opinion, but everyone knows where downtown is, hopefully, but we have this beautiful kind of triangle shape that that outlines our downtown. Our food halls, our new developments and buildings there. So we'll look at what's happening. We have so many new businesses that have opened in the past couple years and are still opening. We are having a new addition. You may have seen their truck to the food hall. There's an Asian hibachi grill that is coming in called Hibachi Street Food, just awaiting final inspection. We have Gabriel Ranch, a local meat market. We just had their ribbon cutting on Friday. We have a new chiropractic business downtown. And since the last update that Matt had given, we have all these wonderful places. Sauce and Vine, Dark Ritual, and Wings Over Fate have all just opened and are really thriving in our downtown. And I will not go through all of these, but since the last update, in the past just within a year or less, I would say all of these businesses have opened downtown, just to give everyone an idea of what's happening there and how many new businesses the downtown is really supporting. And some pretty pictures because we have lots of them, so I'd love to share. So our Sauce and Vine, Dark Ritual Coffee, I am in there. I told them when I started I was going to be one of their best customers, and I have lived up to my promise. I've been there not every day, but close. It's a great spot. Wings Over Fate has their wonderful patio, great food, so awesome place to hang out if you're downtown. And then here we are just on Friday, stuck this one in here, the Gabriel Branch Meat Market, like I said, open. And I just thought this picture was really great because we have actually a lot of other business owners from downtown that came to support their new fellow business owner. So I just thought that was really exciting to see, and it just shows how much support that this type of community is giving. And it's just, they have a lot of really great offerings in there. There's some bison burgers and beef bacon and, interesting things that you would not normally see at the grocery store. But of course, your regular steak and all of that. So I was personally excited about that. Good to see, though. And then just to give an update on the hub, as I mentioned, this is something that's really unique to Fate. We do have our own co-working space and fully leased up on the office side, like I said, except for one opening in July. So we're really supporting entrepreneurs, remote workers, and startups, really providing that flexible type of space, attracting and keeping talent here in the community. And this is really the type of thing that we want to build on here, because this is creating that type of economic growth and stability kind of at all levels, the ground level, small scale, which is really building a collaborative ecosystem. And just to show what that looks like, we're getting inquiries all the time. We're even exploring long-term expansion opportunities, which that might be a little ways out, but because of the high demand that we're getting for space, we are actually even looking into potential expansion or some other type of office development as part of a mixed use downtown. And so just to kind of see what we have dedicated workstations, so we have a few left of those, and social memberships. Anyone can join and come down there and visit us, so we encourage you to do that. And we have a website, fatestationhub.com, so you can come learn more, schedule a tour. We'd be glad to have everyone out. And something else really exciting. So we actually have an article about the hub that was featured in the Texas Town and Country magazine, which is the official publication of the Texas Municipal League. And so we had a whole team here that really helped contribute and create this wonderful article that just showcases how much of an impact this development is making. So very exciting. And I will add something interesting, just kind of on a personal note. The previous article, if you go check this article out, the one before it was actually about a program that I started for the city of Garland called Where the Heart Is, as a neighborhood revitalization program that they still have going strong. So it was really exciting to see. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was happening. So kind of an unexpected surprise, but it just kind of goes to show, I think, my kind of personal mindset about really creating a vital neighborhood and community at all levels, whether that's residential or commercial, and tying those together. So check this article out. This is available to the public if you visit tml.org. Some good stuff in there. And then also downtown vibrancy. We've kind of highlighted that, but if you have not come downtown in a while, come visit. We have the Go Texan Day this May 23rd, so come out. It's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and so we're going to have all kind of fun Texan-themed events going on down there. But it just, like I said, there's so much momentum down there. It's a really exciting place to be. And just to give you a fun highlight, one of our most recent, hopping into Easter, was a huge success, as well as the community cleanup, really brought folks together. And then just a short update, we are in the final stages for Station Park. So final design and programming is underway now. We will be coming back to you all with an update in the near future, but very exciting things happening there. We really see this as something that's going to really drive people downtown, a new space for events and concerts, movie screenings, all kind of fun things that we haven't had the ability to do without a stage yet. So once we have that, it's going to be even more exciting place to be than it already is. And just a fun one, we had very high attention to detail with this, actually tested out the sound system, like thinking about with the power lines, what would happen with the guitar. This is Councilman Manaval's idea of concern of what's going to happen with an electric guitar under the power lines. And I can assure you, it sounded great. And so very exciting, but just kind of shows the level of detail that we're kind of putting into, and with everyone's feedback. So very exciting things happening there. And if you are interested in learning more about what's happening downtown, you can visit us on Facebook. The website is up here. That'll keep you up to date on all the events and happenings there. And like I said, we have our new site selection website, which is more geared towards the business community, but come visit us there. And we also have our city website that gets a little bit more into the kind of policy type of offerings and things like that. And that is it. And I would like to thank my team. I don't think they were able to make it tonight, but Yvonne and John, who have done a wonderful job on the downtown events and managing the hub for us. So that is it for me today.
Well done. Thank you for that. Questions or comments from anyone from council? Ms. Huffman?
That was fantastic. You've got a lot of good stuff going on, and you outlined it beautifully. All the vibrant things that are going on around the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Robbins?
Yeah, it's incredible to see all this great growth we've got going. It's a testament to, current and former council and current and former staff that have really worked hard over the past 10 years to get where we are right now. Offsetting our tax needs with sales tax has been phenomenal. Thank you.
Mr. Manival?
I have had a number of chances to talk to Emily, and I guess one thing that comes to mind since she's got here is Matt who? Sorry.
Aww.
No, Matt was great, loved him, but you have picked it right up. So thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Hatley?
I was going to say thank you for a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it certainly is exciting. It does sound like with all the cool coffee places we have coming in. Maybe we need to figure out some kind of way to start bringing them into, figuring out a partnership to have some coffee at some of these meetings provided by our local coffee shops.
Okay.
You know, and I think that would be kind of nice, get to sample a little of all of it. Well done, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks, y'all.
Okay, next agenda item, please.
Next is 3F, open government training provided by the city attorney.
And Mayor, Council, if it pleases y'all, I'll stay here unless you would prefer me to be at the podium.
I'm good with you staying there?
Okay.
We'll just awkwardly get Cricks in our next, but that's okay, Jennifer, whatever you need.
I can do it either way, any way y'all want it. Thank you. So this time of year, right after the May elections, we do open government training. We did this a year ago. What? Oh, thank you. So I'm going to go through this. This is all very important material. I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. Feel free to stop me to ask questions. So we're going to be going over the state law requirements, the Texas Open Meetings Act, the Texas Public Information Act, Texas Ethics and Conflicts rules, and some of our local rules. So first, the Texas Open Meetings Act. As we've talked about before, it was adopted in 1967. It applies to every governmental body except the Texas legislature, which I always find to be amusing. It requires the public has a statutory right to observe government in action. So they have the right to observe your deliberations and your votes, and a right to speak before any action is taken, and that's a relatively new right. So you should have watched an open meetings video and filled out a certificate of completion, or you're about to probably. The Open Meetings Act requires that all meetings be open to the public. You may go into executive session, and we'll talk a little bit further about that a little bit later. In the last legislative session, the law changed, and so the law used to be that you had to post these agendas 72 hours in advance of a meeting. It's now 3 business days, which means that we have to get these agendas posted more in advance of, there's a lot of Friday afternoon postings all over the state of Texas, and that's kind of stopped. And it has to be posted on a bulletin board and on the internet. And they must give the public sufficient notice of what is being discussed. The more important the topic is, the more detail that you need to give in the posting. So Texas Open Meetings Act has 2 definitions of meeting. It's either a deliberation between a quorum of the governmental body or between a quorum of the governmental body and another person in which public business or public policy is discussed. And this can either be a meeting where the governmental body participates or is responsible. And the second definition you can see there, the last bullet talks about how a meeting does not include a gathering of a quorum at a social function unrelated to public business that is conducted by the governing body or attendance by a quorum at a function if formal action is not taken and any discussion of public business is incidental to the event. So you can go to holiday parties and all be there together, but just be careful about not talking in a quorum about public business and certainly not taking any action regarding that. And if you do, it will be outside of a posted meeting and would violate the law. So it applies, of course, to the city council. It applies to deliberative bodies with rulemaking or quasi-judicial power. So, for instance, a board of adjustment is a good example of a board that's always going to have the Open Meetings Act apply to them. And it also applies to any board that, even an advisory board, the law says if council routinely rubber stamps their decisions or recommendations. So most cities, like Fate, apply these to all boards because you just don't want to be in the situation where you haven't posted a meeting and y'all do something, the council adopts a recommendation of an advisory board, and then you're in a fight over whether or not it was an advisory board where you rubber stamped their decision. So Fate, like almost all cities, just applies the Open Meetings Act to all boards. It applies when a quorum of your members are present. A quorum is a majority, so 4 for council. I would mention that in light of us having a vacancy by recall, I would suggest that the most careful course of action is to be careful even when 3 of you are together. It prevents you from discussing in your meetings items that are not posted on the agenda. And also walking quorum. So I know this term is used a lot, This is when a governmental body deliberates through a series of closed meetings of members less than a quorum. And so a good example of this is a case out of San Antonio that happened many years ago, and this is a reported case. So where the city manager the night before a meeting had a series of meetings with council members talking about a vote the next day. So council members were coming in and out of his office all evening, and then the next day, the item that came up, and it happened to be funding for a nonprofit, I think. The item came up, and council just passed it without any discussion, and it turned into a criminal case. And so that is kind of what people point to. So you just need to be careful that when you're talking to each other, you certainly one of you can talk to another person, but just be careful about saying things like, and I've also talked to Jane and Bob, and they said this, and so you just don't want to have those series of communications. The law recently changed. Litigation found the old provision to be unconstitutional. I think the new law is actually more strict than the old law, but again, it hasn't been tested. So it says an elected or appointed official cannot communicate with other members of the governing body to persuade them on an issue if they communicate individually with a quorum or know that others will do such a communication. So I actually think it's more strict than the last version. New technologies raise novel issues. So you will notice that the best practice, and staff in FATE do this, is to blind copy the council or the plan commission so that you can't accidentally do a reply all. There are some exceptions regarding emergencies, and if we ever have one of those situations, we will walk y'all through that. A quorum can discuss matters in closed session, and there are actually numerous closed session topics, but the most normal or the most usual are getting legal advice, deliberations about real property, economic development, or personnel matters. And no votes can take place in executive session. And this should go without saying, but it is in the law that a lawyer must actually be present or on the phone if attorney-client privilege is the reason you're going to executive session. And again, here are the criminal penalties for circumventing the Open Meetings Act. And in addition, an action in violation of the Open Meetings Act is voidable, meaning that somebody could file a suit and say that a resolution you passed, for instance, should be overturned. Any interested person may bring a civil suit, and a person injured by an unlawful disclosure of a certified agenda or tape recording may sue for damages, attorney's fees, and exemplary damages. So the public's right to speak, I mentioned this at the beginning. And this is relatively new. I think it was two legislative sessions ago. The legislature made clear, most cities were already doing this. I'm sure FATE was probably already doing this, but some cities weren't. And the law basically says the public gets to speak about an agenda item before or during consideration of the item. And so that's why your public speakers are before you actually take votes on anything on your agenda. You can establish reasonable rules, which this council has. You can't prohibit criticism, including criticism of an act, omission, policy, or procedure or program. And you can create rules of decorum. But of course, all of these impact First Amendment rights, and so you have to consider those when enacting those rules. So again, you have city procedural rules that y'all recently looked at. The mayor is the presiding officer. It requires speakers to fill out a form, limits public speakers to 3 minutes, and y'all know these very, very well. Public hearing items, those persons must speak at the public hearings, not at the public comment section. So the Texas Public Information Act, again, it's the policy of the state that each person is entitled, unless otherwise expressly provided by law, to complete information about the affairs of a government. So in general, what this means is the Texas Government Code authorizes the Texas Attorney General to prepare, distribute, and publish materials regarding the interpretation of the act. And the AG is required to liberally construe it in favor of open government. So for the most part, and there are exceptions, and I'll talk about some of the exceptions, but for the most part, if the city wants to withhold information in response to an open records request, we must seek permission from the Attorney General to do so. So what is public? Ordinances and resolutions, policies, memorandum, emails, texts, instant messages, social media posts. any information that's written, produced, collected, assembled, maintained in connection with the transaction of official city business. And it means information that is owned by the city and the city has the right of access to, or spends city funds to write, produce, collect, and assemble or maintain. It also now has the concept of temporary custodian of information. So even if, and y'all have city-issued cell phones and city-issued laptops, but if you happen to use your personal phones or laptops, the law says that if you conduct city business on it, that you're a temporary custodian of that information, even though it's on your private device. And so a lot of people, you will see, like your city manager's got 2 phones on the desk. So a lot of people are very careful to transact public business only on their public phones. But it's not prohibited to do it on private phones. You just know that you're the temporary custodian. So what information is confidential by law? And these are just some examples. Social security numbers, we don't have to go get an AG opinion to redact those, and we will carefully redact those before releasing the information. Attorney-client privilege documents is confidential by law, but we do have to seek protection from the Attorney General. Information related to a pending or threatened litigation. Information related to pending bidding or competition. Once the bidding or competition is over, much of that becomes open. Economic development negotiations, some personnel information, and of course the law enforcement privilege. And just as a note, again, some of these, actually all of these, with the exception of the Social Security numbers, you have to seek an AG opinion on. So this is a new slide that I've added since the last legislative session. This has always been the case law on this, but recently the legislature codified this. So the Texas Government Code makes a council members have super access to information. So you as a council member can request information from the city and you'll receive it in unredacted form. Under this new statute, the city can request a confidentiality agreement. You can inspect, duplicate, or inspect these documents. Again, Vicki will send them to you in unredacted form, but they may contain confidential information. So a release of confidential information may subject you or the city to liability. So please, if you plan on releasing anything you've gotten in your capacity as a council member, please seek assistance from the city secretary, who ultimately may have to get help from your attorney's office to make sure that any confidential information's been redacted. And again, here's the liability for violations of the Public Information Act. So ethics and conflicts of interest. I'm going to stop here. Does anybody have any questions about those first two, the Open Meetings or Public Information Act?
Real quick, the update to the walking quorum, that went into effect in September?
I think that was earlier than, I think 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
Yes, sir. It was definitely not this past September. Yes, sir. The main state ethics rule is Chapter 171 of the Local Government Code. It requires you to abstain from deliberating and voting on any matter if you have a substantial interest and a special economic interest will result from the vote. It requires you to disclose this interest before discussion or the vote by filing an affidavit with the city secretary. And there's state forms that Vicki has, and she can assist you with those. And I'm going to go through very briefly and give you one example. A substantial interest in a business entity means you own 10% or more of the voting stock, or the funds received by the person from the business entity exceed 10% of the person's gross income for the previous year. And you can see the definition for real estate. It also applies if the person related to you in the first degree of consanguinity or affinity has a substantial interest. And I always have to look at these charts because I get confused what's affinity and consanguinity. So I'm going to show you affinity first and then consanguinity, and I'm going to give you an example, but I'm going to go back first to this. So a good example of this, and let me stop by saying, if you look on the agenda and you feel like you may have a conflict of interest, please reach out to somebody on city staff ahead of time, because if you, it happens all the time where a council member sits in a council meeting all over the state, where sits in a council meeting, and they're all of a sudden they looked at the agenda ahead of time. Y'all all do, but all of a sudden they're looking at it in the meeting and they think, "Oh my gosh, I may have a conflict," and they run over and talk to me about it. if I'm having to make a very quick decision about whether or not you have a conflict, I'm probably going to be very conservative and say don't vote. But if you talk to us ahead of time, we may be able to more work through that process. But let me give you an example. So let's say that Councilmember Raines, I'm going to use you as an example. Let's say that Councilmember Raines has a child who works at Baskin-Robbins over the summer, and makes a good amount for a teenager, but doesn't make what any of us would think is a lot of money. And let's say Baskin-Robbins then, the child only works during the summer, then in the fall they go back to school. Let's say Baskin-Robbins then comes for some kind of something from the city, whether it's a zoning case or economic development incentive. Your child is the first degree of consanguinity for you. So if Baskin-Robbins comes before you, I'm not going to know that your child worked for Baskin-Robbins, only you know. So you'll have to think, gosh, mate, do I have a conflict of interest? If the child's, that income that the child received that summer exceeds 10% of their gross income, which it would be 100% of their gross income, right? Then they have a conflict of interest, which means you have a conflict of interest. And so in that situation, and even though they no longer work for them, for those kind of employment things, you look a year back. So in that case, in that example, the proper thing to do would be to file an affidavit of substantial interest and not vote on that matter. And again, here are the criminal penalties for this. And these are disclosure statements that you need to file. And of course, and these are the big scary things, but bribery, it's an offense to offer or accept any benefit in exchange for your decision, opinion, vote, recommendation, or other exercise of discretion. And gifts to public servants, offense to accept or solicit gifts for services performed as a public servant. And if you receive an unsolicited gift, you may donate it to the city or to a certain tax-exempt charitable organization. So if this happens to you, just reach out to us and we can walk through this. And token gifts, like valued at less than $50, don't apply. Honorarium, so this happens to a lot of us when we get asked to speak at an event. If you're being asked to speak because you're a council member and they want to give you a gift, then you need to think about that. You can accept transportation and lodging expenses in connection with a conference if you're speaking. And of course, we are now very familiar with our ethics rules. So I'm not going to necessarily go through these in detail, but as you know, in addition to the state ethics rules, we have ethics rules by ordinance. The charter now requires a code of ethics. It provides a process for complaints, investigation, public hearing, and resolution of the complaints. One thing I will mention is it does make clear that if you live within 200 feet of a zoning case that you have a conflict under this code of ethics, and so you should file an affidavit of substantial interest. And with that, this is our contact information. There's also wonderful materials in the Texas Municipal League and the Texas Attorney General's office on all of these matters, but I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council? Comments, thoughts? Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ms. Vicki, next item, please.
Next is Agenda Item 4, Public Comment, and I've received one request to address the council, that being Mark Harper, address 401 Atlee Drive.
Welcome, Mr. Harper.
Thank you. Good evening. Mark Harper, 401 Atlee Drive, Fate, Texas. Sorry, I just doxed myself, but it'd be good to hear. All right, I want to speak about tonight's executive session. I'm being brought to executive session for an ethics violation that was filed at 1 p.m. on my last day on the council. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that I won't be able to have the same afforded process that you guys had on ethics violations as well, which I won't be able to vote against or for my investigation. I won't be able to participate in any of the discussion around my ethics violation, which you guys were all also able to do. So again, I technically, you can't be in executive session if you're not a council person, and technically you can't get an ethics violation if you're not a council person. So if I can't be in executive session and have the discussion and have a vote, Because I'm not on council, then I can't have an ethics violation because I'm not on council. So again, I urge you to take that into consideration when you speak in executive session later tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And there are no others signed up to speak.
All right, next agenda item, please.
Agenda item 5, consent agenda.
Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we pass the consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? You guys are taking your sweet time on it. All right, you may begin. Oh, you have,
I have a question.
sure.
Since we're confirming minutes from before the time that I was on council, should I participate in this vote?
You certainly can.
Any other questions? Mr. Hatley?
Oh, sorry.
No. Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes with 4 votes, with 1 abstention and 1 no. Mr. Allen Robbins choosing to abstain and Ms. Huffman voting no.
What happens if it's incorrect? Because it's the first button on the left, isn't it? It's a yes? Okay. So for the record, I would have voted yes. I intended to vote yes.
So the record will reflect 1 abstention and all the rest, yes.
Okay. All right. Next agenda item, please.
Agenda item 6A, discussion regarding amended ambulance services contract with the Rockwall County Emergency Services Corporation, also known as the ESC.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Emergency Service Corporation, which we're members of with Rockwall County and the surrounding cities, wanted to get our input on the new contract that is going to the ambulance vendor. So we contract our 911 ambulance services through the Emergency Service Corporation. And so the county's a member, and all the cities are members, and there's representation and compensation based on population and various things. We have 2 board members on the Emergency Service Corporation, and that is currently Martha and Mayor Greenberg. So we have those 2 folks. The corporation recently is undertaking a new contract. So Royce City withdrew from the corporation to form their own service for ambulance. They're going to a private sector vendor, and therefore shrunk the area for the ambulance services. That put some economic strain on the system, and the corporations talked with the vendor about how does that work and how do we move forward. The vendors asked for some contract amendments. The key elements are this is basically a 5-year extension of the contract, so they're basically trying to get a few more years in. And there's also a provision that if we, let's say any city wants to exit the corporation, that is required to give 18 months notice, which is about what it would take really quickly if you wanted to start your own ambulance service. So they've essentially asked for some extra protections. There's a whole bunch of restatement in the contract. You can see a lot of, we included a red line of the proposed agreement. And so the Emergency Service Corporation asked for input first from the corporation's representatives on each city and then the city management. And so we gave them some comments about the system design and some of our concerns about just how it's organized. So if you want to get into that, the corporation really didn't want to kind of get into some of the details of how they're prioritizing calls, and there may be some ways to be more efficient with the call volume. They wanted to kind of stick with the existing layout. So really what we're talking about now is just the 18-month notice provision, and then essentially the extension of the contract for 5 years. So that is kind of where we're talking about. So if y'all had any comments on anything in the contract, we'll note that. And the Emergency Service Corporation meets Wednesday night, and Mayor Greenberg and Ms. Huffman. Staff support this time will be Omar, so 5 p.m. they're going to meet at the old, the historic courthouse. So if you have any comments, we'd be glad to send them along. If not, then we'll just log that the City of Fate Council had no comments.
The Roy City exit from the EMS, what, does that change the, is there a delta in the cost on that for the rest of the partner cities?
It eventually will, because we do have a population distribution for that. So yes, to some extent, at some point. Right now, the contribution is zero for the 911 service. So none of the cities pay into it. What we pay into it for the operations. For the administration, there's a small administrative fee that essentially everybody divides equally. So there's a very small impact. They collect absolute bare minimum to run the corporation. Rockwall city staff do all the work as far as staffing the corporation. The city of Rockwall doesn't get any money for that from the corporation, so they provide that as a service. And so there's, when you start to divide like the accounting costs, there's going to be a little bit of a bump to the cost for us. But really, they're still participating in the emergency management functions, which is the bigger cost. And then they're still participating in the gun range deal. We're not part of the gun range deal because we came in afterwards. We were with the county law enforcement back when the gun range was formed, so we're not part of the gun range program. So minimal, at this point, minimal cost. If the corporation ever went to a different service delivery model, like a countywide ambulance service staffed by county employees, or if we change the system, then there would be some cost impact, but right now it's basically minimal to zero cost impact.
The response times, what mechanisms do we have to decrease those response times? I'm just looking at, it says priority 1, 7 minutes response time.
Right.
7 minutes, 59 seconds, actually, priority 1.
The one nice thing about coming out of when Roy City came out of the Emergency Service Corporation is it got what actually Mayor Megacy's in the audience here, or former Mayor Megacy. What we were asking for years is an ambulance to be located in the City of Fate, and we actually have one now. But so they're actually over at the apartments just east of downtown. Forget the name, but
that's Richland Plaza.
Richland's Plaza, yeah, it's the ones that. Yes. So Richland Plaza, they have an ambulance, essentially, crew there. And then there's also one down on 276. You'd have to, I think, you have to add, so we've done some things. We've worked with them to do the exclusivity deal. So they've actually added ambulances to be the exclusive provider to the hospital and other places. So, of course, if they're busy, they're allowed to call other ambulances. So that's added, I think, 4 different units to that, which are also available for 911 service because they circulate when they're in the community. So we've done those things. You'd actually have to add, I think you'd have to add ambulances or redesign stations, or what we've argued a while ago is to redesign the program itself to where you're trying to transport as many people as possible, as fast as possible. Right now, we have an equity type model to where if someone has a heart attack at the harbor or in downtown Rockwall or in downtown Fate, the response time's almost 8 minutes. But then if someone has a heart attack on the ranch in the southeast part of the county, the response time is also required to be 8 minutes. So as you're looking at countywide services, you would never design it that way, essentially. But the current model is very equitable. It's very equitable.
Do we have current data on the response time for Fate itself?
We have, yes. We have response times by zones. So essentially the county is divided into 4 quadrants, and they consistently meet their response time requirements in the contract. The northeast and then the southeast are the most challenging for the ambulance provider, even though they've got pretty strategic locations of where they've put the stations, and they also move up and cover. You'll see ambulances staging around town. You ever see, like, there's an ambulance hanging out underneath the highway in the shade? You'll see them at 551 there, or you'll see them over at sometimes at the Williamsburg Amenity Center, or they'll be they used to be sometimes they come hang out at the fire station, but they've got a station in downtown at Richlands Plaza. But you'll see them in different places as they're kind of moving around, kind of following the fire department model, move up and cover. But I think you'd have to add some assets, or you'd have to add some costs, or we'd have to figure out something with the provider. So long answer, but.
No, so
detailed.
currently we'll have a bus in Fate at Richland, and there's a bus on 276 for the southern part of Fate.
2 units.
2 units.
Pretty close by.
Okay. There used to be an automatic extension for this that the board itself votes on.
They would typically vote on extensions as they got closer to the end of the period. They would add a year or two. That would be typical. So I think what we're basically seeing is kind of an accelerated adding of years to the contract.
And we would have an opportunity to address that extension prior to the board voting on it, correct?
Well, if they pass this contract amendment, they would extend the agreement 5 years, is what we've seen.
5 years? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions or comments from council? Okay, do you have what you need from us? Good questions, Alan, thank you.
Yes, sir. I think
Okay.
if the board asks y'all what the comments were, we have no further comments based on the council.
Yeah, for me, it's just response time and making sure that we have permanent location for the buses to help our Fate Fire Department.
Yep. I think we have an ideal mix of response time and cost, essentially, best value.
And Martha, since it'll be your first meeting on Wednesday, we'll let you do all the talking on behalf of all 30,000 citizens in Fate.
I tried to take notes, but.
Oh, and Michael, is there a way to get the contract in a form that we can search? Because this one's not searchable, as far as I can tell. Looks like it's a scanned document as opposed to a.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we can do that for you.
All right, thank you.
I can send that to the council tomorrow via email,
Appreciate it, thank you.
of course.
Oh, really? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Ms. Vicky, next item, please.
Next will be Agenda Item 6B, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding approving amendments to the section of the city's appointment policy regarding filling of a vacancy of a council member to match the City of Fate Home Rule Charter.
So,
Okay.
Mayor and Council, and Vicki, I don't know if you wanted to speak or you wanted me to speak.
Either way.
Okay, so all this, we realized, Vicki and I realized that this appointment policy had not been updated after the last charter review election, and so all of these revisions just incorporate the charter provisions. So that's all they're intended to do.
The charter provisions from the May 2025 election?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I did have a question on that, though. If you look at page 7 of that document, that's really where we're talking. It's the page itself, or the document itself is, I guess, 6 pages. If you scroll all the way down there toward the end where it says, until the next available election, and then like it's crossed out where it says, for the unexpired portion of the term of the vacated position, am I correct that and just like up above where it says, where it's crossed out, in accordance with the City of Fate Home Rule Charter, anything that has the line through it is what was currently in there, and then was this you who made the change? Was it Vicky? Because I just want to make sure, I don't think anybody on council made that, so I just want to make sure if we're changing it, we know exactly where those changes are coming from.
Sure, I proposed the changes, but Vicki looked at them as well.
Okay, so how, the part about the cross through for the unexpired portion of the term of the vacated position, what specific charter amendment changed in May of 2025 that would make that a necessary amendment to this policy?
So the charter was changed in 2025 regarding the vacancy provisions. I don't have that in red line, but y'all have been provided a memo detailing that, and so that reflects the, I believe, the intent of the Charter Review Commission, as well as the interpretation of the charter, which is if you appoint somebody, they will only serve until the November election, which is the next available election.
So my next question would have been, does that mean that this portion that we're cutting is would technically mean that even prior to the 2025 amendments that we passed, this portion of the amendment policy was not in line with our Fate City Charter?
No, I don't think necessarily that's true.
Because the reason I'm asking specifically is I went back and looked at each of the charter amendments that were passed, and I don't remember seeing anything that discussed the specifics of the finishing out of a term. And I know that we'll discuss it with the next item as well, but I know we have some city precedents, and I'm just wanting to make sure that if we're cutting or amending the policy, we know exactly what it is. If that's something that if you don't have, and I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, so I mean, I'm open to potentially tabling this until June 1st to better understand what specifically we're changing and why.
So all this is meant to do is, this policy is meant to assist council and staff to make sure that through the appointment process, you're complying with the charter and with state law. And so that is what this policy does. The policy can't change the charter. The policy can't change state law. For instance, we added a provision that made clear that you can't appoint more than one council member.
Right.
Not because that's unclear in the charter, but because we didn't want some staff person in the future or council member in the future to forget to look at the charter and try to appoint a second person. And so all that's meant by these changes are to try to memorialize what's in the charter and what's in state law.
Okay, but right, but just like you said, it was a charter amendment that we could specifically find. It's very easy to find that says we won't have more than one appointment, so that's why we add that in here. Why are we crossing out for the unexpired portion? I guess I'm just asking, was it like, could you say we're crossing that out because the voters chose on Proposition H to not allow that? And I'm going to bring that up, just, I guess I can mention it as part of what we're going to talk about with C. The leave vacant until the November 2026 election. I want to make sure I fully understand and then can explain to the people why in the past we haven't done it that way and why the proposal on the agenda is to do it this way tonight. It seems very unclear to me, and I want to make sure I have a very detailed understanding of why it seemed to be one way back in 2002 or 2022 versus why it's different today.
Well, I can't speak to 2022, but the charter says the appointee shall serve until the next available election. And the next available election, there's two possible elections in every year for municipal elections, the November election and the May election. And so, because of the timing of the vacancy, because of the recall, the next available election is November. And that was actually much discussed at the Charter Review Commission. There was actually some concern about even allowing appointment at all. And that was much discussed at the Charter Review Commission. And so the decision was made, no, let's allow appointment because there might be a reason to have a seventh council member on the city council. And then at the next available election, which would be November, you would have an election to replace that person who would serve until, in this case, until May.
Okay, so, and again, I'm not trying to be difficult here, Jennifer. I'm just saying, so does that mean that if we appointed somebody in 2022 from June until the following May and did not have an election in November, were we in violation of our city charter?
I am not going to go there. I will say that whole section of filling the vacancy changed in the last charter review commission and election. So the filling the vacancy, there was many changes in that section. And so I was not the city attorney in 2022. I don't even know if that was thought of or discussed, but all I can do is give you the correct legal advice as we sit here today.
Okay, Mr. Hatley?
I was just going to say, I went back and looked at the charter from 2022. The part that says the appointees shall serve until the next available election appeared in both the current one and the one in 2022. So that part hasn't changed. But in the, and I know maybe this might, look up we might need to do some research on this. But in the minutes, when Councilman Kelly was sworn in, he was appointed to serve until the general election of May 2023, and he was put in on June 6, 2022. So there wasn't a November election in between the time he was appointed and the time that he would have ended in May, but he wasn't subject to that November election. Is there a way that we can go look up what the previous attorney may have reviewed and to see if there was some sort of an exception that he thought? I believe it was John Thatcher.
So I have provided y'all an extensive memo analyzing this provision, which has given you my legal advice regarding this and my interpretation based on state law. As you're aware, you can only appoint for somebody who has less than a year left on their term, and so under the Constitution. And so reading the charter in combination with state law, because remember, state law says that if you don't provide in your charter for a process, you have to order an election within 120 days. So absent a charter provision, y'all would be ordering an election that would have to occur within 120 days. But Fate has a charter provision that deals with these vacancies. And again, in this situation, it's a vacancy of less than a year. If it were a vacancy of more than a year, you would have to order an election. So for a vacancy of less than a year, which in this case, the place that was subject to the recall is less than a year, you can either appoint under the charter, or you can, that person will serve until the next available election, or y'all can go ahead and order election in November to fill that position.
I was going to ask Alan a question. Alan was actually on council then. Do you remember, I'm showing no discussion on the minutes on that. Do you remember there being any issue?
What was the date?
It was June 6, 2022.
6/22.
But it says there was no discussion.
If I remember correctly, he was unopposed for his election.
He was unopposed in November?
I'd have to go and look. That was a while
Okay.
ago. See if I
fair enough. That
But it does state on here that he was to serve until May, the following May. It doesn't mention anything about November. I was just curious to see if there was anything you happen to remember a detail on that.
I don't off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and do some research on that, but I can get back to you. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess, and if I have to make a motion for it before, but would the council be opposed to tabling this until June 1st, our next regular meeting, to look into this and find out some more why things were done the way they were done, if we can find out some more information on it?
I guess my point would be why. I mean, our attorney has spoken on the matter. Now, if our previous attorney got it wrong, well, that's okay. I mean, that was 4 years ago, 4 years ago now. Our current attorney is giving us the opinion of what we should do next regular election. So I'm not sure what would the point be?
Well, no, great question. We're being asked to change policy when it looks like at one point, I would consider it an apples-to-apples comparison. Mm-hmm. One way we did it one way, another way we did it another. I don't feel comfortable today saying I could understand exactly why, given even when the example that we used, I understand why we put a provision in place that says there can only be one appointed person, because I can go back to the charter amendment and say, oh, there it is, it's proposition whichever. The other cross through, I don't see how we're getting to that. Mm-hmm. And if that was part of that detailed memo, I read through that, but I would prefer if that had happened. I wouldn't be opposed to you speaking to that if that was another attorney's advice and that's all you could say. I mean, that's fine. I'm certainly not going to hold you to something a previous city attorney said, but to me, I look at it and go, there are several options. One, it may not need to change. Number two, if we did something wrong in the past, I would want to make sure that might open up an opportunity to look at some other things that we are out of alignment with our city charter, or some of our policies are out of alignment with our city charter policies or ordinances. And so I don't see a reason to rush through it unless you can tell me a reason why it has to be decided on today.
Oh, no, I was just curious as to, I mean, like our attorney said, she can't really speak on to what happened in 2022. She wasn't the attorney for the city. Going forward, though, it's like I was just trying to figure out what would change if the new policy matches our charter, what would change by entertaining this farther? Is my question.
If nothing else, a better understanding of the changes that we're making, knowing exactly why they're being proposed.
Okay.
I don't want to go answer to voters and just say, well, our city attorney said, so I know we did things differently in the past, and she said it's in a big memo somewhere, but she's not going to speak to anything that happened before that deals with the same situation. I don't want to do that
Right,
when talking
sure.
to people. I want to be able to say concretely, here's why we're changing this specific part of it.
Absolutely, and I was just go back to the memo that she sent. I just got it today and just had a chance to skim it, but I'll go into dig into it deeper and then try and answer Councilman Hatley's questions regarding what happened in '22. But I mean, if council wants to look at this again later, that's fine. I was just asking kind of like.
I would love if you looked back over it and had some time to do
Yeah.
it, just so we can see it.
Yeah.
You will be in a very unique position here to potentially do the same thing 2 times in your service to the city of Fate. And if we're going to be doing it differently, I'd like your opinion on that too.
Yeah, and the changes to the charter, I think making sure our policies match the charter is critically important, whichever direction that is.
Sure,
So-
absolutely.
Anyone can watch that meeting. It was a live streamed meeting, so you're welcome to watch that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I guess if I'd like to see, do I need to make a motion to table this until June 1st? Or can I use the without objection? And then see if somebody objects, and then we'd vote on it?
Well, I mean, council doesn't have, this is not a public hearing. You don't have to table to a specific date. So certainly y'all cannot vote on this tonight. I'll just make really clear, I'll make really clear that I provided a memo, an attorney-client privileged memo to the entire council, and so I do not see the need to look to see what happened in the past, but y'all are certainly welcome to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else before we move on? Okay, Ms. Vicky, next agenda item, please.
Agenda item 6C, which is discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding whether to fill the vacant councilmember place 1 position by appointment or leave the position vacant until the November 2026 election.
Okay, thoughts from council? Mr. Manival.
Considering the discussion we've just had, that we have appointed positions, there's an issue about for how long we appoint. I think we should follow what we've done in the past and appoint to restore, the council to being a full council.
Can we open up the appointment, like can we move forward with an appointment today and then maybe not necessarily looking at it, the vacant until the November 2026 election until we have better guidance, but we could at least start the 2-week window of collecting applicants today for that position? Would that technically be something we could do?
Yes, certainly y'all could begin the appointment process.
Are y'all suggesting that they may not have to stand election in November? Or the term would not end in November?
That would be the assumption, yeah.
Yeah, so it will be difficult. I think it might be, if
Well,
you're
we
asking.
would, to be clear, we would know before they're appointed. That's why I brought up June 1st. I don't want to, I'm not looking to push something off indefinitely. I just want to make sure everybody's
You
aware of
might
what's
get-
going on.
You might get different people if it's a short-term assignment versus a year. So I think that would affect who applies.
Okay.
I think it would definitely affect who applies. I mean, typically, in the past, appointments have been people who are knowledgeable about city functions and who are filling a temporary role without the desire to, I mean, you can't make someone make a decision on whether they're going to run or not, but it's typically been a question asked of people. It's like, it's getting a leg up on an election or something like that. It's typically someone who can jump in and sit here, especially as we're starting the budget process, who understands and has experience with doing things on council. That way they kind of become a person who understands but isn't really trying to win the next election, if you will, So, and personally, I couldn't imagine, after coming off of an election, running an election in November with a possibility of a runoff in December to turn around and run an election in March again, So, that would be, that's what I've always looked for in appointments, so.
Mr. Hatley?
Well, I was going to say, if we're discussing that right now, I mean, they ultimately wouldn't be chosen until we had an answer on the question to the previous agenda item. So they would know at that point in time whether or not they wanted to go do it, even if they do apply. I mean, we had a little bit of the same issue with the ARCAD people. They didn't exactly know when they were going to start, how far they were going to go out, how many people there were going to be. I think there was actually a discussion of were we going to raise the number of people that we were going to make at large, which would have probably changed how many people would have applied to. But by the time we actually make the choices, I'm pretty sure we're going to know when an end date was going to be, if there's going to need to be an election, or, you know, at the off chance that something went wrong, and like I say, it's probably a long shot, then if they would stay till May. So they would have that, they'd be able to make that choice.
But we're also under no obligation to actually appoint anybody, correct?
Yeah, I think
That's right. Under the
Correct.
under the
Correct.
charter, you could just order the election.
So we could just order, we could even take interviews, and if every single person who came up was like, no, we could just
Oh,
not
that is a
appoint
good question.
anybody.
Yeah, can we start the appointment process? But then if we decided I mean, I hate to say it like this, I'm putting words in Alan's mouth. If he didn't like any of the applicants,
No,
do you like how I did that?
That's
Then we
exactly what I
could-
was saying.
We could just decide to change it to an election?
There's nothing in the charter that would prevent you from doing that. I would note that you have 60 days to do one of those two actions.
Okay, Ms. Huffman, I didn't mean to cut you off a second ago.
I saw it, though. I think it's fair for people to know what they're applying for, so I'm for delaying it until we decide the first issue.
Okay.
I agree. I was kind of thinking the same thing. We're kind of focused on when we're going to make our decision. We're disregarding the fact that people have to decide if it's something they're interested in applying for.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, so we'll discuss this at our next meeting. We'll put something on the agenda for that. Okay, next agenda item, please, Ms. Vicki.
Agenda item 7, mayor, council, and city manager reports.
Okay, we'll start with you this time, Ms. Raines.
Okay. I just wanted to touch base again on the Public Works Week and thank all of our Public Works employees. I didn't get to make it out Friday, but I did want to congratulate Gabriel Ranch on their opening, and then the Fate Citizens Academy graduates. That was actually a really interesting program that I learned about after it had started, and I think it's really cool for citizen engagement. So I will hope to see that continue and grow and really take off. I am planning on attending the Go Texan Day Saturday morning, so I hope to see some of you guys there. And I hope everybody takes a minute on Monday to recognize Memorial Day and those that we've lost defending our country. And otherwise, have a great evening.
Thank you. Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, the Citizen Academy is something that we started up, and I was happy to see the amount of people that went through it. And I can't wait for the next one to start up because I think it's a very important community engagement tool. And Saturday is going to be a great day. I was actually downtown this past Saturday, and there was hundreds of people, and there was no events. It was just hundreds of people out enjoying the park, the restaurants, the coffee, the grandkids went and watched them wash the fire truck down, and it was just a great community. There's a lot of people there. It was great. And then for our DPS, thank you guys for what you do. You might be getting some calls this week because, ladies, I'm officially off the market. So got married on Friday. Thank you. So if you have any, welfare calls, it's probably my fault. I'm sorry. Anyway, appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Manival.
No one else will probably mention this, but I wanted to tell the council thank you for Older Americans Month proclamation, my favorite month of the year. Also, I wanted to mention something that I think some of us were invited to, and it was a hard time to get to last Friday. No, it was Thursday. The Rockwall Police Officers Memorial Observance. And I had never been to that, and it was really a moving service. It's a short service that's done nationwide. They pointed out that this was initiated by President Kennedy in 1962. So it's done everywhere, and their names are called out of officers lost in the past year. And a lot of officers were there and local officials, but it was well worth going to. And I realize it's like at 10 o'clock on a work day, so if you can make it next year, it's worth seeing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manival. Mr. Hatley.
I want to congratulate all the people in the Citizens Academy and thank them for going through the first one, being the inaugural members and the graduates. I wanted to thank Emily for her great presentation. I think she said it was her first. She did an outstanding job. I also want to say thank you to all the older Americans. That's a big thing that sort of launched our community service here for my wife and I, was doing the over 65 tax freeze. It was something that became important to us when people started getting in trouble during COVID, that and for the disabled. But I also wanted to congratulate Public Works and say thank you as always to DPS. You guys are incredible. I see you guys everywhere. I don't know how you can be everywhere at once, but there's not a direction I turn. It seems like when I'm driving where I don't see you guys. I saw you guys up in front of it looked like either Starwood or the pet food place. But also, and I wanted everybody to have a good, thoughtful Memorial Day weekend. It's something I always reflect on. I have a couple of cousins that didn't make it, so I'm constantly thinking about them. But think about people that have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country. But thank you.
Ms. Huffman.
Part of me wants to say what they said, plus, I mean, the new business report was great. It sort of reminds me of places I need to go, some of the new things that I don't see all the time. Citizens Academy, I hope it was really rewarding for you guys. It was a lot of great information. Looking forward to doing the Go Texan, but also trying to highlight there's something called Carry the Load that will take place on Saturday the 23rd. And it's a great opportunity to sort of reflect on the sacrifices people have made and walk a couple miles with a bunch of other people who are focused on the same thing. And you can look on their website. It starts at 6 at the courthouse on Saturday the 23rd. But I hope everybody has a great Memorial Day.
Okay, the downtown Gabriel Ranch Meat Market, that was a cool experience and getting to be part of that. So of course, I hope everybody goes in there and grabs something. They have beef bacon, and I've never had that before. I don't know if you guys have had that, but it was fun to try. They said it doesn't get as crispy, so you'll sit there and watch it on the, however you prepare your bacon for a while, and you'll kind of be like, why isn't this crisping up? And then you'll remember it doesn't. But happy to have them there. It's an awesome, it's exactly what you want in a mom and pop shop. So welcome to them. Glad they're there. And again, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Fate Citizens Academy. That's certainly very fun. Shelby, let's find a time, maybe, sometime between the next 4 to 6 months. Let's give them like a final exam to see what they've retained after this 4 to 6 month period. As an educator, I sometimes ask my students, I'm like, okay, once our semester's over, how much will you actually remember? And so we'll follow up with you guys. But in all seriousness, congratulations on that. Well done. It's exciting to be growing people who are involved and want to be involved in our great city. So thank you for that. Mr. Kovacs.
Yes, sir, just a couple notes of meeting times we mentioned during the Emergency Service Corporation talk, but this Wednesday, the county consortiums will meet 5 p.m. for the Emergency Service Corporation and 5:30 for the Planning Consortium, which works on the road projects. And then Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day, certain city offices are closed. That's all, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Vicki, next agenda item, please.
Just one housekeeping thing. Since there's voting in the conference room here, our executive session will be held in the development room, conference room on the development services side of the building. So, okay. Agenda item 8, executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.001. The City Council will recess into executive session closed meeting to discuss the following. A, in accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney. Number 1, development agreement, Crenshaw Preserve. Number 2, initial screening of May 4th, 2026 ethics complaint filed by Darcy Gilden against Cody Chin. And 3, initial screening of May 4th, 2026 ethics complaint filed by Darcy Gilden against Mark Harper.
Okay, thank you very much. We will go into executive session. session at 8:51 PM. Ms. Vicki?
Okay. No action will be taken on executive session item 8A1, but any action on 8A2, which is the ethics complaint against Cody Chin.
Talking about both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vicki. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. Motion to establish jurisdiction of 2 ethics complaints as directed by the Ethics Code of the City of Fate and direct city attorney to ensure an initial determination on the complaints.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
any discussion on this?
And just, Jennifer, to be clear, that was for both the complaints, right? That's going to be for not only 8A2, but also for 8A3.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Is that correct, Mr. Manival?
That is correct. I read it as motion to establish jurisdiction of 2 ethics complaints. So that's both of them.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, any discussion? Again, council, note that this simply was the idea that the jurisdiction is there to move forward with these. Okay, so is this I guess this will be a box vote, right, Ms. Vicki?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure on it's because it's counting for both, because that's what his motion said we can still.
That is correct.
use it. Okay. All right, any more discussion, council? All right, seeing none, please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Do I have any more motions?
Yes, I make a motion to.
Turn your mic on, Rick.
Yes. Motion to extend the timelines for the investigation of the 2 complaints as stated, June 1st for initial determination related to validity of complaints on their fact, and on or before July 6, 2026 for final report if a valid claim exists.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, please vote. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Ms. Vicki, next agenda item, please.
Next agenda item is item number 10, adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. The motion passes 6-0. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.